This is the Rebel Scum Podcast. Available in video on YouTube and audio wherever you listen to your podcasts. Every week, Brock and James talk the latest rumors, news, and theories from a galaxy far, far away. Support us on Patreon for exclusive offers and join the Star Wars discussion. Patreon.com/RebelScumPodcast. Here are your hosts, Brock and James.
You are always scum. Rebel scum.
Woo! Rebel Scum Podcast. I'm Brock. This is James. He's playing the free Star Wars Hunters game that is out. I have it as well. Exciting times. What a time to be alive. We have new Star Wars content, and it is fantastic.
Fantastic.
Boom.
Were you excited last night that there was a Star Wars show to watch?
Yeah, it was awesome. I watched the entire first episode on a train at 11 o'clock.
Wait,
as
which
you do.
train?
The midnight train to Georgia.
No, was anybody from Star Wars on the train with you?
No.
What number was the train? Was it 48? Oh, my game.
No. Oh my God. Could you imagine? If we did a sketch show, that would totally be you'd watch it and you'd look over and three people would get the joke with Paul Stanley. It's oh.
Oh yeah, it would be me, you, and Arda.
Yeah.
I'm just playing Star Wars Hunters. Have you played it yet?
Yeah, I played one round and I did the little what do you call it? Tutorial at the top. Seems pretty simple. I did really well, so that means. But it's for everyone that's listening. It is free. Go get it. It looks like it's trying to run after Fortnite people. It has the vibe of Overwatch, just character design wise. But
yeah, I love Overwatch.
So I think it's the more you play, the harder it gets, sort of thing. Because I was this is fairly easy, and I'm you are now level 2.
I got it, but I don't. I haven't played it yet because last night I was very excited for it. Last night I didn't think I would be, and then the word "free" was thrown in my face, and I said, "Okay, I was more excited about that than the show." Before and then obviously I didn't play it, but I watched the show, so that tells you all you need to know about me.
Yeah.
I was I'm gonna watch the show and then I'm gonna play this, but as I told you yesterday, I was in our garden last night prepping the garden, and I was very, very tired. So I watched the first episode. I'm I'm wide awake. Second episode, I'm let's do it. And then I decided to lay on the couch, and then all of a sudden it ended. And so I missed a chunk. So I rewatched it again. So
nice.
I can talk about it.
Episode 1 and 2 of Acolyte out last night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. James, what was your initial reaction as you were watching the show?
I was all over. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to sound like a hater, but I hated everything about this show. I didn't like the costumes. I didn't like the name, the word Jedi. I didn't like that. I'm just joking. You know what? To be honest with you, though, I was kind of all over the place. Mm-hmm. Maybe because I was super tired, but I was the first thing that stood out to me was because I have been super or hyper critical of the look of it from the trailers. Remember, I said it looks like a cheap TV show, and it didn't. It looked better than a cheap TV show. It looked better. I talked to my friend Sheldon today, who agreed with me before. He's why does it look like? He hated the character designs before it started. He's a big Star Wars fan. He loves everything Star Wars. Mm-hmm. So there was no way he wasn't going to like this, but he wasn't crazy about the designs. And then we were talking earlier, in the show, everything looked better. It was almost like we got an uncolor graded version in the trailers where we got it here. I will say on my laptop when I rewatched it, it didn't look as good as it did on my TV. I'll say that it was a little flatter looking on my
Oh
laptop,
yeah,
but
yeah,
but I will let that slide because I was impressed with how good it looked for the most part. There was a couple times I'm like, but it looked great. It looked great.
yeah,
But I was kind of all over the place because two things in the first episode threw me. Your
yeah.
dog barking. I ran.
Someone just rang my doorbell in the middle of the day when no one's supposed to be here. Oh, looks like a package came.
But anyway, no, I'm just sorry. But what threw me was the big one was the twin. So I heard before that she was going to be a twin because that like she just mentioned it in interviews that she was a twin. So I was like, okay. And the trailers kind of show there's like I didn't do it, but there's two of them. So the twin, it was like it wasn't even. I wasn't so mad about not mad. I wasn't like thrown off by the twin aspect. It was how we found out she was a twin. It was kind of like just thrown in there like there's a dream and she has a twin. Like she's like my twin's alive, and then like the master's like was like no, and then my twin's alive. I believe you. It's like what is how like that was a very quick. So that kind of threw me. Was just like I felt like there could have been a more natural, organic buzzword way of getting to her having a twin that we didn't hear about. Like it would have been nice if we heard about the twin earlier. It's reminds me of my twin sister. She died. Like whatever. Maybe there was and I missed it. But anyway, it didn't feel like that was natural. So that kind of threw me. And then the one that drove me nuts. By the way, I like the show. The thing that drove me nuts though was the guy, the prisoner with his mouth bound shut, and then she's like rescues him, and then he runs away. It's like it's just like it's so just a forced way to get her on that ship. But again, the mystery like of what's going on and who that main bad guy is that you find out at the end. By the way, spoilers for I should have said spoilers up top. I was drawn into that, and that's why those two criticisms aside, I went right into the next episode because you know me, Brock. I could have waited on that until we recorded. I could have held if I didn't like it, and I was prepared to, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, I thought it was good. I watched. I started rewatching it this morning on my TV. My 4K monitor, so it's like, but the problem is during the day there's a lot of light from our windows, so it's like sometimes you don't really appreciate that TV till it's in darkness, and you're like, oh right, this is a very good TV. But I watched the entire episodes on my phone and loved it quite a lot. I would say so far it has the vibe of the books, where it just sort of like there isn't really an enmity. There's like whoever these villains are obviously hate the Jedi, but it's like the Jedi incorporate into a lot of the societies, and like they're just sort of like the protectors sort of thing. There's like no one really has an issue with the Jedi that we see in like the prequels and the original movies. There are no Jedi, so it's just like they're myth, right? So it's it's like it's a cool vibe. Even like the look of everything is slightly different. Like there's a you can feel like this is a different era of the galaxy sort of thing, if that makes sense. I don't know how exactly to express it. And it's also the way they shoot this looks way different from how the other movies and other content is shown. So but I liked it like right off the bat. Like we called it totally like Carrie Ann Moss is gonna die like right away, and it's like everything we saw in the trailer is pretty much the first half of the first episode, which is great. Like it's just like if they can sell you on that, then the rest of I think I said to you, I went back and watched the trailer again now knowing the context of a lot of things, and you're like, oh, I see what they're doing here now. So it's like if you watch it, you can tell, like, I mean, we're going to meet other characters, but, like, the bulk of it is from the first episode. I guess maybe the first two episodes. But there is a vibe of, like, we're going to see a lot of flashbacks. Like, this story of what happened to May and Osha as children is definitely the root of whatever the problem is. So it's like, but it's cool because like you were saying, it's like we don't really know who this new Sith whoever villain is. So like you're gonna have to unravel this mystery and this one. So it's I think it's exactly what we kind of want right now. Like, is it worthy of a movie? I am unsure, but I don't know why he's barking so much.
I want to point
usually-
this out because sorry,
Yeah.
we'll get past Gatsby. But I've seen people complain that the episodes end abruptly, and I definitely disagree with that. And I've been a critic of those ones because this one, the first episode was an episode, and then it kind of was like, and then here's the tease to get into the next episode, right? Like if that was, this is the one where I'm like, I kind of wish there was a week in between and we could all be like, who's the bad guy?
Yeah,
But then the next episode doesn't deal with it, so I'm kind of glad they didn't do it, right? Because if we waited a week and then they don't deal with it, then we're all like, how could that? But it was back. But then the second episode again, they're like, the episode ended, and they're like, we need to go find the Wookiee, and then they show us the Wookiee. It felt very much like a TV show to me. Like that's how TV shows used to operate back when I watched TV in black and white on an 18-inch monitor. That's how they used to go. And so that criticism I don't understand. Whether or not it's going to be a better show binging it, I can't speak to now, but I kind of felt like it felt episodic in a lot of ways with a larger story at play. Like the point of this episode is X. I knew what the purpose of each episode was. Whereas, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka definitely you didn't know. Like each episode didn't matter. It was all just one big one. So that I was happy to see that, but I didn't understand. I think people are just now. I think what it is we are like our mentality is binge it or bust.
Yeah,
I think that's always a lot of times because I don't watch the Dragon show, the dragons in the house show, but I'm imagining they're obviously a lot longer, but imagining they end similarly where you're like, what's happening next? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I felt like these two episodes could have been separate. If anything, like, the second episode needed the first episode just to be a little bit more entertaining, I guess. Like, I feel like the second episode is a little bit weaker than the first one. And I semi-agree about it just ends in the second episode, but not really. Like, the story goes, and then they're like, well, we have to get to... Oh shoot! I should have wrote this down. The Wookiee Jedi, Kill Naka. Thank you. It's like we have to get to him next because he is the next in line to be killed or chased or fought or whatever. And like me, I love Wookiees, so I'm like, oh, that scene was great. It was perfect, but it was just like it just sort of like it wasn't. It just sort of like you get out of here, kids, and then that was that. But outside of that, like.
But that's a very TV trope, though, where they're like, this is the point. The next episode is about this guy. This episode isn't, but we're going to show you what the next episode. But that's what it felt like to me.
If anything, it should have just been either you see that scene and then you see May's ship land, or she's standing in a tree watching him, or it's a push to wherever he's hiding, and he just sort of like breaks the fourth screen and looks at you as a viewer, and it's that. I would say, but it's like it's not terrible. I don't think it ruined it, but it was just like the only thing that was like, But like, I know it would have been more interesting if they were like, it's a Wookiee, it's this guy. It's just sort of like, I wonder who's next, and then you just show it, and then that makes it. You know what I mean? Like it's such a minor thing. Like and like we knew what this Wookiee Kelnaka looks like, so it's like I think it would have been a little slightly more interesting to be like, oh, Wookiee Jedi, everybody's favorite thing.
One thing I don't want to bring up negative, but the one thing that annoyed me, I know what they're trying to do, but when Saul's like, when he's like, we know what his next move is, and they're like, no, come back, we got to have a discussion. It's like,
yeah.
Do you really have to? Like, I know you're trying to show like the Jedi are this way, but that seems stupid on all accounts. Like, someone is murdering Jedi. You know who the next Jedi who's going to be killed is, but we need to have a conversation about it. That threw me. That was like, it's that little things. I'm like, do you? Because we know where you're going. Like we know we're going to get there.
Yeah.
Don't put that obstacle in there. Like, but yeah, it didn't. I don't know the Wookiee ending. I watched it twice because that was where I woke up.
Yeah.
I woke up at that start of that scene when I fell asleep. I woke up at the start of the scene, and then it ended, and it felt like that time it felt like a natural ending for the show, and that's when Erin was like, "There's a Wookiee Jedi." I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Okay," and then I
Yeah.
go, and then she said, "That's who they're looking for." I go, "Who's looking for?" Because I fell right asleep, so I had no idea. Then when I watched it again this morning, I didn't. It didn't. It still didn't throw me off. I don't know. Maybe I'm just more positive than you, Brock.
Maybe. Um,
Yeah, right.
but you know what it is? It's like these 2 episodes were good because there wasn't some massive like reveal. You know? I mean, maybe if you've never watched the trailer, like the twin thing, yeah, I guess. But it wasn't that like, oh, it was just like, oh, that's an interesting storyline. But you know what I mean? Like I think it's like we've watched the trailer, so we know what the main cast looks like. We know there's a villain that's in dark and has a red lightsaber, and we know that like the Jedi are not safe. So it's like there's nothing like, oh, I mean, it was good in the sense of like this is just great Star Wars content to watch. And I mean, I don't want to make a call yet. I saw an article that's like Acolyte will hit new heights like Andor. It was like already making an assumption. I'm like, season's not over. We really can't rate the series or even understand where it fits in the lexicon of like what is good Star Wars or what is true Star Wars. So it's like I love it. I've said this a bunch before, like because Disney Plus is very good at this. For me as a fan, I'm like, I can't wait till next Tuesday. Like I love waiting for the next Tuesday to come along or next episode. So I'm psyched. My prediction is by the end of the series, I'll be like, they could have made 3 more episodes. I would loved it.
I hope. You know what? I hope not, though. I do hope not.
Yeah.
I hope you say that in a way that you're like, I just want to keep watching it, but it wraps up. Like I'm fine. I hope.
Sure.
Because these episodes kind of reminded me of the Andor premiere, where you're like, or the first 2 episodes of Andor, you're like, those were good, and then the third one had you're like, oh, this is a great show.
Yeah.
I think Andor is a better looking show. This one costs more than Andor. This one, but I think to that point though, it's like we got the first episode, second episode, and like you said, there was no like that third episode of Andor where I think that's the one where everybody decided they were on board. We didn't get that with this show yet, right?
Yeah.
We didn't get that. I mean, that might. And I'm not saying this show even needs that. I'm not saying that, but that's the difference. Is this one didn't end with like a punch? I think they hope the Wookiee is the punch in the face that they want, but I don't think it quite is because they gave it away in the trailers. If you hold the Wookiee back from us, then we're like, oh, what? Like it could have been a lot cooler revealed. But also, you know what? I don't. When the mask guy was talking, what do you think of his voice, by the way?
Cool. I mean, it's just sort of like now we won't know who exactly is in there, sort of thing.
Well, we haven't never told me the odds about that, but I said this last week or 2 weeks ago. Is like we forget like Star Wars never used to be about who was under the mask.
Yeah,
it's just about the mask is cool, and that's what you care about. And I kind of hope they stay true to that with this character, you know. And I hope, and I mean. They probably will, but that won't stop fans from speculating who's under the mask. And I don't care and at this point in the show, I do want to know who's under the mask. Mm-hmm. But that's the mystery of the show is who is the puppet master, like, and why are they? That's what I want to know is that stuff. I don't that the person's face looks like. I don't give a crap. I don't care. My guess is it's Oshia May's mom. Is my guess is who's under the mask. It's can you imagine? But like I don't care who it is. I care about why like they're doing what they're doing, and I think the show has propped that up very well. Where you're like, I don't know what the point of this is, but I want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's I did find it funny that like the one character that plays Master Torben who in the trailer we see as his what he looks like currently as a young person, because I think he's in his mid-20s, but then they age him up. And I'm like, is that guy? Why does he look like he's wearing a terrible wig? And I'm like, oh right, because his real acting part of this show is going to be in these flashbacks. So it's like cool. I was like the Barash vow, like I feel like that was something out of the comics. Like just those little touches. It's gonna be fun watching a non-prequel era of Jedi. Like I enjoyed just like the interaction between Jackie and Yord. It's like, Yord, put your shirt on, and it's just like, even though Yord is like a Jedi Knight and Jackie's still a Padawan, it's like, well, like you're not always correct because you're more experienced or whatever. So it's like the characters are interesting to say the least. And I found all the aliens looked really good. Like there's a mix of like prequel, sequel, original gangster aliens, and then like I think there's a bunch of stuff that you only see in video games, so it's like that's really nice. I feel like I can also predict that like once this show is up, I'll want to watch it again. Yeah, I would give these 2 episodes like 4 stars for sure, because it's just like perfect. I think we rely way too much on like massive reveals in Star Wars. We're just like, oh, and not even just Star Wars, but yeah, go ahead.
No, that's my point about the who's under the mask. It's like
Yeah.
Star Wars isn't about that. Like A New Hope has
Yeah,
no massive
you're right.
reveal. We didn't get into Star Wars because Vader was Luke's father. That was a cherry on top of what we love.
Yeah.
Like, and that's at the very end of the second movie. Like we're already in.
Yeah.
That's what everybody remembers though. And then You're My Sister, and then that just had to be. But the prequels don't have anything crazy happen in them. But for some reason, we're just like, it's got to have a twist. What's the twist? It doesn't have to have. Twists are cool, but there has to be a reason.
I liked sorry to cut you off. I like the quick, like, not crawl, but opening caption that just describes exactly what's about to happen. But I like how they phrase it as, like, there are Force users that do things in secret. And it's like, easy. It's like, oh, is he a Sith? It's like, nope, they're just Force users that can do stuff. That's all you need to know.
And maybe they are Sith and nobody knows. Also, I liked the use of the of the text better than I did in Ahsoka. I like Ahsoka did it as well, but I like the way they did it better here. It was that blue long time ago font, and they did the tilt down.
Yeah,
like old Star Wars. And Fantasia messaged me. He messaged me when I just started watching it. I think he finished the first episode, or maybe both of them by that time. And he said, he's like, it sounds like Star Wars. Star Wars sounds like Star Wars again. And then he said the transitions felt very prequel-esque, and he was right. There was a lot of because Star Wars. Everyone forgets Star Wars has some cool, like cheesy transitions.
Yeah, slides.
I feel like, and the sequels tried to stay away from those. You know, like they didn't use them a lot, and the shows have been kind of like tiptoeing with them. And this one was like full on embrace. You want a cheesy iris? Let's do it. And they would do it.
Yeah.
Star Wars. And you know, it's part of that's what struck me the most was, and I'm gonna say Leslie Headland because we talk about Filoni and Favreau all the time, and give credit where credit's due. I feel like she has a very good finger on the pulse of Star Wars, and it's a different. And she's on like a different vein than Favreau and Filoni, which is fine, but it's still part of the Star Wars thing. And like it really felt like the show understood Star. And I don't mean like names of ships and BS like that. I just mean like the way things operate, the way Star Wars operates. It really felt like she understood it, and I think that's why because you just feel like, oh, this person respects the material, and they're not. Yeah. They're not changing it. They're just using it in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, it's just a story that exists in the galaxy. I'm looking forward. Like, I'm curious how much of the High Republic books will come into play. I like the fact that, like, right off the top, it's like, or not off the top, I guess in the second, like the next part of the first episode where we see OSHA for the first time as like a mech neck. That's a cool term. But then like she's with the Neimoidians, and they're not doing the what the internet called the racist Neimoidian voices. And then also like the reference to the Trade Federation. Like it's just like, yeah, sure. Like in our brains they're like prequels is like, well, yeah, the Trade Federation probably existed well before that. So it's like those little nods are the nice, like they're not, there's not, it's like, it's just, it's not Leo from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where it's like, it's not that. It's just like those little details that put you in the thing.
It's one of those things where they could easily have been like, nobody likes the Phantom Menace. Let's make a new,
Let's
put in a new character. Instead, they're like, you know what? Whether you like it or not, this exists, and let's just put it in, and fans will be happy, and they'll be mad, and we'll change the voices, so we don't have any issues. And it worked. It was like it was what it was. In the Trade Federation, like I said, it does exist. So why not use what exists in those circumstances?
I do appreciate that all the Star Wars shows pretty much don't have opening credits. It just sort of goes straight. Like you get the Star Wars title card that is specific to shows with the faces and all that. But I noticed when the second episode started, like when they do that part, I was expecting the Bad Batch music to come up because that's what I've been watching the most of. But it was just his own thing. It's like I like that there's just like it's not a long, drawn out, cinematic like graphics moving around thing. Like I guess The Mandalorian has their long end credits, which is at the end, right? Like it's just like they have their music sting and then they go. Like it's just like I appreciate that happens. But I think you kind of mentioned music, or Andrew saying that Star Wars sounds like Star Wars. What did you think of the music? Did you appreciate it? Is it up to Star Wars caliber?
Well, and because I'm the gatekeeper of that.
Yeah.
For me, it was. I thought it was actually great.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it feels whimsical again. It feels John Williams-esque. And I was saying to a friend earlier, I'm like, the Mandalorian went away from it. Like it was like, we're going to do our own thing, separate it. I think I did a great job of that.
Yeah.
And then we had like Obi-Wan. I was very underwhelmed with the music in Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And then Boba Fett's Mandalorian, and Andor. I feel like the music was they went like techno. The music was like whatever, and Andor was like inconsequential. Like it wasn't about the music. Andor was very different. Ahsoka, I love the music. This one I think is probably the strongest of the Star Wars-esque on TV that we've gotten. I think for 2 episodes, so the whole show knows. But yeah, because it felt like there was hints of the theme, like of the Force theme. Like I have to rewatch it, but I felt like there were hints, but they never fully went into it. Like we're not there yet, but you got undertones. And like there was one scene, I can't remember what it was, but the music was playing on it, and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like Star Wars music. It just sounds like something you would hear in Star. And I'm like, oh yeah, because it is Star Wars. That makes sense. So for me, I thought the music was really, really worked well.
I liked in the beginning, like the first after the title card comes up for Star Wars and then just starts the episode. It's menacing music right off the top. You're like, this is like get into it. This is not a cheerful one. I mean, it will be, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like, there is a dark menace coming, so prepare. But I did my usual thing where I like to watch the credits to at least get to all the side characters to see if because there was one voice, I can't remember which character it was. I was like, you sound familiar, but I couldn't find any names
John
that like
Goodman.
stood out. John Good. Oh, can you imagine? But I'm sure there's going to be one or two. But for whatever reason, in the first episode, those like supporting characters titles don't come up for a while, and I listened to the music for quite a bit, and it's like the end credits music is like it's really nice. So just like it's like you said, it's like whimsical. It's a full bodied sound, so it's just like, ooh, that's nice, and it's just like what a time. Like we would be starving for a movie that we would watch like 7 times. Now it's like, I mean, we've almost both watched both episodes twice in the last 24 hours, but like it's just like it's just great, and I don't know if Acolyte, like I said prior, is like will it match up as a Star Wars movie? I don't know, but it's just like it's good, it's great. It's just I don't know. Everything about it was cool, and it's just like I have a premonition that these episodes will be appreciated more as we get more into the story. Maybe I'm just being overly optimistic, but I'm just like, there's something here. It's interesting. So I already said it's like I can't wait for next Tuesday. Yeah. Oh. What did you think of Pip, who is it seems to be this season's precocious droid?
The Game Boy.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I liked him. But my big thing was if this was 1990, like if this was like 1986 to 1993, that thing would be flying off the shelves. It would be the talk boy of the year. You know what I mean? Like they would like it would be like a cassette recorder, and now we won't get anything. But yeah, I think it was cool. It was I appreciated that they did something different. It wasn't just like here's another droid. It was like this is a tool. There's a droid who is also a tool. So I kind of I appreciate it. I liked it. I wasn't like this is the greatest droid of all time. It was like,
not yet at least.
Well, yeah, we're 2 episodes in out of 8, but we'll see. But right now, like it's not like a 3PO or R2 chopper level droids. But it was like I'm like this is cool.
Yeah.
I would if there was a video game and you're like you had to pick a droid, that droid would be in my top 5 droids to pick in a video game to assist me out of all situations. R2's number 1 because he can do everything. But that's like, if you're not picking R2, you've got problems. Because he can get everything. But this droid, I liked him. What do you think?
I liked it. It's just amazing how like I thought like the animation and how it moves and works and interacts with Osha is great. But it's amazing. All she has to say to it, like it's the second line she says to Pip, and it's like Pip inside voice, and it's like it's not like he gets louder or anything. It's just like that is the magic of Star Wars, where like someone's talking to an inanimate object in reality, but it's a character in the show, and you're like, yeah, you've already sold. You sell it in 30 seconds. Yeah, like it's how good this robot droid will be. We'll find out. It's an interesting take. I like how they're like they're going smaller and smaller. You know, like Leia had her little. I don't even remember what her droid was called. Lola. But then like Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order. Like they have BD1 for. Oh gosh, What's the character in the Star Wars game? Cal Kestis, thank you. I was like, Jade Citrus. That's not a name. Cal Kestis. No, I thought it was good. Yeah, it's like, you're right. It's such it's immediate like toy merchandise right there. So then, like, what do you think? Like, is Osha and May, are they both strong in the Force? Can they both use the Force? It was very vague because it seems like Osha has like cut herself off from the Force, which I love. I love that you're like, oh, she'll escape. She'll just use the Force, but she doesn't. Like, you still there?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the I'm not sure about the Force using because you're right. She cuts herself off. Can't really use it. I'm sure she's gonna use it at some point. And then which is the bad one? May's the bad one.
May's the bad one. Yeah.
May's the bad one. She kind of does it with the sand at the end, but that's not really. Is that no? But is that what is that like? Is she limited, and she's not allowed to use weapons even though she has knives, which is weird. But I hope they don't go like. I'm up 2 months. I hope they don't go in like the dyad type thing where they're like connected in some way like that. Like, but at the same time, that dream that threw me off in that first episode because it was so like thrown in there. I hope that there is like an actual reason for it. You know, like what like because right now for me it just feels like that is like we need to tell you that they're twins. And so this is how, and she needs to know that she's alive. So they did that, and it felt forced to me, no pun intended. So I'm hoping that there's a purpose for that, like there's something that connects them. But why they were separated for 16 years, and I know, but also why do they have the same haircut, Brock? They have the same hairstyle.
They don't.
They don't.
It's slightly different. Like the colors are all the same, but it's slightly different because that's like when we cut to the scene where she's like where we see her and Pip for the first time. I thought that was a time jump into the past because her hair wasn't as long, and I'm like, oh, honestly, like the twin thing. I think you're kind of right. I feel like we're gonna get hopefully more of an explanation on why that is exactly happening. I honestly, at first, thought she was like. She has like I know it's not multiple personality anymore, dissociative or whatever. I thought it was that where like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, where you're like, she is not aware that she is doing this sort of thing, but that clearly is not the story at all. I would think that it's two. They've pointed out too much that like no, there is two different people. I mean, they've also shown it with two different people, so. Yeah, so it's just like
they lead you into that direction though, where they want you to think that it's multiple personalities because they're like, "Where were you last night?" I didn't go out because I didn't want to go out, or whatever. That when that tech guy walks by, so yeah. I hope there's more played out because that scene to me just felt so like, we're gonna show you. It's like because we and the thing is they like reiterate it like 5 times after that. So it's like I get it, you didn't need to do that. So I hope there's a purpose for that. So I'll reserve judgment on that till then. But until then, I'd get a Pip action. If Pip was the new Talk Boy, I'd be all in on it.
Just trying to think like what it would do. Like it would definitely be a squirt gun. You put cassette in it, but I feel like it would be like it'd be a squirt gun as well and stuff.
It would be disastrous for a cassette player. Can you imagine getting a cassette wet? Kids, a cassette. It was the old way to listen to Spotify. That's how we used to listen to Spotify. We would spend hours at the radio hitting the record buttons. How much easier is music online?
Oh God, the best.
What I used to do when I wanted to listen to a song on repeat, I used to make an entire cassette tape, 90 minutes of the same song over and over and over again. It took like a day and a half to do it. But you did it, and that was my repeat. And I've done that for I did that for a song. Yeah, I've done that. It is what it is.
What they need to do is make an app that makes your phone look like Pip, where you're like asking it to do stuff, you know.
But like, and then the case for your phone is like it
looks like it. It was great too. They take his head off, and that's how they record. Yeah. I feel like maybe our criticism by the end of the series is like a lot of things are just put into place so that they can use that for a later scene. Maybe, I don't know. I loved it. It was great. I look forward to hearing other people's thoughts on it because I know there's a bunch of people's like, oh, it's like that show comes out today and what have you. So. I think people
gotta
like
be honest with you. I don't like hearing people's thoughts on Star Wars anymore. I'm just like so over somebody. I'm not gonna name any names, but somebody told me about somebody's opinion. I'm like, yes, I know. I could already tell you their exact opinion before the movie starts. Like, I know somebody else. I'm like, I know what you're gonna think of it. Just don't watch it. Just don't watch it. Or you know what? You're gonna like it. You watch it, but I know you're not gonna watch it.
Yeah, like someone texted me yesterday and sent me a screen cap of like bad reviews for it, and it hasn't even come out. It's just like, it's like, oh, have you seen this? Do you think it's going to be bad? And I'm like, if it's from the internet, I don't believe anything, especially when it comes to Star Wars. I'm like, it's just going to come to, like, from what I've seen and my opinion of it so far, I think it's going to be good. I have high hopes, and then I wasn't wrong. But again, like, it's all personal opinion, right? So.
The most anyone has seen is 4 episodes.
I see.
Episodes. So some of the critics and people have seen 4. A lot of people saw the first 2 early, but some critics saw 4. That's still only half of the show.
Yeah.
Like you can't. I don't know. Like you can say, hey, you can review the first 4, but it's the last 4 are going to be made. Honestly, the last 4 episodes are going to be the ones that make or break this series, and they're going to be the ones that make us say we liked it. Or like Ahsoka, like why did it just stop? Like that's what's gonna happen. The first few episodes just have to get you in the door. They have to be like, hey, do you like this idea? Yes, I do. Okay, you're in. Once you're in, it's now up to the show to deliver and get to the end. So I don't care what anyone says about the first 4 episodes. I haven't watched any reviews on the first 4 episodes. I think I read stuff because I think we're going to talk about it once. So I did see a few of the early stuff, but I don't hold any of that.
Yeah,
I don't hold anything. Like even my opinion of the first 2 episodes mean nothing, because if the show ends up sucking after this, I hate it. But if the show ends up being amazing, I'm like, well, the first 2 episodes actually were great. I was just too blind to see that they were going in this direction. So it's like, you don't base a. I mean, I have, but you don't judge a movie after the first 20 minutes of a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna make an outlandish claim and say episode 5 is when it's gonna really hit. Because I've watched 2 different series in the recent past that like episode 5 was like, oh wow, that was crazy. Doctor Who.
Right, Doctor Who.
Yeah, X-Men and Doctor Who were like, oh, episode 5, interesting, So it's like,
how many episodes are those 2 shows?
I don't know. Well, X-Men was 10 because there's 2 episodes after episode 5, so that's 7, and then there's a 3-part, and so 10 episodes. And I don't know how long Doctor Who is. That's a BBC show. They can kind of do whatever they want.
It's an episode and a half.
Yeah. So,
but both episodes are 4 hours.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is because Acolyte is 8 episodes. So so maybe it's not episode 5, maybe it's episode 4, or maybe it's episode 6, depending on where it is. But we'll see. Episode 5, we got to play this clip back if that ends up being the case, because that'll be intriguing. I have Disney Plus again, so I will be watching X-Men 97.
Yes. But I highly suggest watching just Doctor Who episode 5. It doesn't hinge on knowing anything else about the series or the season you're in. It's just an interesting episode to watch. It's like Black Mirror, basically. There's somebody was like, I'm going to make a Black Mirror script. And that's what the vibe is like. But I don't know if anyone was that shooketh by episode 5 of Doctor Who like I was. It's not in my algorithm, so I don't see it that often. But I think it's this show. It's just a check mark. It's worth watching. That being Acolyte.
No, and for me, these shows are, they're not movies, they're shows. For me, these are side stories to the stories, but this one feels like it. I love, Ahsoka maybe, because Andor is like, oh, maybe you don't need Jedi in Star Wars when you watch Andor, and then Ahsoka, I was like, nah, I freaking love Jedi, even though I don't think Andor is a stronger show on a lot of levels, but man, when I've always said, when Ezra lights up that blade, I'm like, frick, I love it. But to that point, the lightsabers in this show did not sound great. I was like, these don't sound as cool as lightsabers should sound. They're missing, so they're too bassy. The same with the sequels. Did the same. It's Ben Burtt. He left, and I was like, I don't want this bassy lightsabers. I want like they're not giving me enough of that. Like maybe boost the audio on it. That's what I'm like. Like it's just when what's her name lights it up at the beginning of the episode. I'm like, it doesn't sound right. It's like when Finn lights it in Force Awakens. I'm like, you had me, and then you didn't have the sound. It still looks great. Still looks. I love that the yellow ones uses a flashlight. I'm like, that makes sense. But also, why didn't they follow her footsteps in the snow? I thought of that, then I was like, no, the wind is pushing it. The wind is pushing the snow over top. You can't follow.
It's like, there's no way she could survive this. It was like, but you don't see her anywhere. I don't know.
Sometimes less is more when it comes to dialogue. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll let that. All right, you want to go to the odds?
Sure.
We won't do blind rankings today. We'll save that for when we know a little bit more about the Acolyte. Odds.
Yeah.
Possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
Never Tell Me the Odds, brought to you and me by patreon.com/Rebel Scum Podcast. If If you like what we do and you want to support us, head on down to Rebel Scum Podcast, where we try to give you as much Star Wars information and content as we possibly can. And looks like we're heading into a time where we're going to talk Star Wars constantly. So head on down to Rebel Scum Podcast or patreon.com/Rebel Scum Podcast and support us any way you can, like the following wonderful people: Heidi Feder, executive producer; Barry Brophy, Dennis Allen, Randy Kenobi, Mary Kristen Aton, Dale Erdman, Phil Staniforth, Rez, Scott D, Josh Price,
Frank Perkins, Matt W. Hey, Matt W, Frank Perkins, Neil Lowry, Cosmic Girl 02, Gleek Play 1, Dennis, Disney Desi, Charlotte Ron Prasek, and Jeff Wilson. And congratulations and shout out to Barry Brophy on the birth of his newborn.
Oh,
last
congratulations.
Week. So congratulations, Barry.
What a blessing.
Yeah. Good times. A lot of diapers in your future. Never Tell Me Odds, thank you so much for all of your support, Patreon. Let's get right into it. May and Osha will team up, Brock. Never tell me the odds that May and Osha will end up teaming up to fight against something, whether it's the Acolyte dude or whatever.
Yeah, I suspect there's something. Like I think that's what's nice about this. We're like, well, we know roughly where all our characters are gonna fall, but it's just like we don't know the motive for anything quite yet. So I mean, it's Star Wars being Star Wars, and also like they don't make May immediately evil. There is a humanity to her, so we're definitely getting a backstory for sure. I'm gonna go 80%. They team up.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 77.97%, pushing it up to a 78.
Yeah,
because I think that's where they're going. I mean, they clearly have a connection. Sisters, obviously, but she sees her in that vehicle and she shoots her, but she, hesitates. I'm curious where that's gonna go, right? Because she misses her on purpose, and Saul knows that she missed her on purpose. So we'll see where that goes. Soul, also a very refreshing beer. Never tell me odds. Soul will die. Soul will die. Will he die? Now, keep in mind they want to make a season 2, but they could also just be saying that to play with our minds.
I was thinking about that myself. I think I even at one point I'm like, oh, what if they do like Game of Thrones, where like the main the main Jedi character gets killed off like pretty much by the end of the season. I'm gonna go full Brock on this one because I'm not sure. Like it's like he's one of the 4 that May is coming for, so it's like there's gonna be a showdown. I mean, we've already kind of had a showdown, but like there's gonna be something. Yeah, I'm gonna go full Brock.
I'm also gonna go full Brock because I feel like he's the character that if one is going to die, he's the one that should die. But I also feel like because this is a TV show, he's one that needs to stick around for a little while until we have another character who can take over that role that he has right now. So I'm gonna go full Brock as well. I also think someone in this main core of characters is going.
Oh yeah,
someone is going. It's just a matter of who. And that's the one thing in the trailer I hate they didn't show us in the trailer was that they see the red lightsaber. I'm kind of like, I wish they didn't show me that because now I'm like every episode I'm like, why do we go? And you know what? Maybe we see it next week. Maybe it happens right away, and the show's not even about that.
Yeah,
it's so wild.
Yeah.
And our final odd today, never tell me the odds, that the main bad guy is a familiar face, not to us, but to the Jedi. A familiar face, not to us, but to the Jedi.
That's how I saw it too. I'm gonna just gamble and go 100%. Like I think I texted you, and this has nothing to do with this part I think, but I think I texted to you that like the titles of these 2 episodes, because they're both like true. One's like they're all slashed in the middle, right? So it's like true, false, or whatever, and then the second one's like justice, revenge. It's just like there's definitely gonna be a duality to everything in this episode, in this series, I think. So it's just like he's evil, but he was also like one of the most promising Jedi of the Order at the time, or we're not. I'm say he, but that's a voice modulation. It could be a woman or anything. Like honestly, non-binary person. Like there's a lot going on. Actually, I meant to mention rewatching. I had the subtitles on when Yord is talking to Osha. She's like. It's like your whole life changed after that fire. Your mother's and your sister died, not mother. I didn't catch it the first time. I said mother. So I'm looking forward to seeing her home planet in that society, because I believe Jodie Turner Smith is like the main. It looks like the chiefess leader or whatever. We don't know yet of that planet, because she also has the tattoo circle on her head. I like that. These were things you pick up on in the trailer when you rewatch. You're like, oh, so like, yeah. I think there's gonna be some interesting stuff like that. But yeah, 100%. That so whoever's under that mask is something that's like, oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 81%. Because yeah, I think so too. I think it makes sense. I hope it's someone though. I hope it's someone that we learn about before we get the answer. But we don't know. That's why we're learning about them. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's somebody that was present 16 years ago also or something. You know, maybe it's somebody like that. So I'm really curious about that. But those are our odds. Let us know what your odds are in the comments down below or in the live chat. And now it's time for top 5.
Top 5.
Do you want to go first? Because I don't know mine yet. I'm still debating.
Sure. You just have to tell me.
Top 5 moments from the first 2 episodes.
I'm going to put this as my 5th one because it's obvious when it comes to me. Our first look at Kalbaka. What was the Wookiee Jedi? Like, I'm in immediately. And that scene was fun where it's just like the 2 guys are speaking Huddies or whatever. It's just like, yeah. Like, please give us Hutts. They're just Hutt culture because it's like only Hutts are big enough gangsters that they have like their language becomes like a form of commerce. But yeah, no, seeing a Jedi Wookiee in live action, that's super fun and looks like an interesting character.
You know what? One thing that drove me nuts in the second episode was when May goes back to her drug dealer dude, and then she like tries to kill him, but she can't. I'm like, you can kill Jedi, but you can't kill drug dealer dude. Like he's dodging her knife.
Yeah.
Really? Just have her show up next time. Just have her walk up and be like, yo, you betrayed me. Why shouldn't I kill you? And then he'll be like, because I make you drugs. And he's just like, okay. My number 5 is May versus Soul. The fight scene of May versus Soul. I'm not big on the fighting still, Brock. The Carrie-Anne Moss one. I saw that out of context before in front of the Phantom Menace it played. I saw it then. I didn't like it. I liked it more on the show.
Yeah.
I felt it went too long though. It's still not my thing. And the way she died, I was like,
yeah,
like you knew it was coming, but but I thought this was a good fight. So May versus Saul is my number 5.
My number 4 is gonna be the interaction between Yord and Jackie. Like I love it's like, Yord, put your shirt on, put your clothes on, and then like Yord's like, I'm gonna go walk in with my lightsaber brandished, and I'll bring them out here. It's like, well, why don't we send the woman that looks exactly like the villain into there and try to get a recording so we know he's guilty before we like start punching anyone. And like Osha's like, yeah, I'll do that. And it's like, oh, I won't put her in danger. It's like, no, I'll go do that. It's like, that is the most logical. It's like, I like that. I hope that interaction continues on. I think it's really fun.
Which begs the question, why didn't they just make Jackie his Padawan? Have them together the whole time.
The reverse.
Yeah.
They are 3PO and R2. That's what they are. But
he has a Padawan that he just like leaves. He's like, I'm leaving you behind.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just like, you could add that. But yeah, I'm with you on that. My number 4 is Wookiee Jedi. Wookiee Jedi. Because he used the Force, and Aaron said, Jedi are Wookiees now? And I was like, everyone's a Jedi. Let's go. It's fun to see. I don't care.
And played by Jonas Sotamo. Like, that's awesome.
I do think though that the Wookiee costumes aren't as strong as they used. They look very theme parkish, and that's not just this
Yeah.
show. That's Black Crusade. Like they've all kind of looked very very theme parkish. And there's something different about Chewie in the original movies. You're like, oh, it's just a rug. But there's something about, maybe it's I don't know what it is, but there's something that just they're almost too good looking. Like they're almost too like defined. Anyway, that's my number 4. Obviously, I like.
Yeah. My number 3 is going to be. Oh gosh, what was it? The number 3 is going to be, because it wasn't like crazy surprising, but I like the idea of it. Is the reveal that May and Osha aren't the same person; they are twins. I was like, yeah, I enjoyed that, and like, no, there wasn't really a hint at that in the trailer. So
Yeah, not at all. That's why I thought it was weird that she said that she played twins when she was being interviewed. I'm like, but nobody knows. Nobody knows.
that's a slip.
And I saw it like it was like the headline of like an article, and I was like, well, I don't want to know that, but now I do. And you find out fun enough. My number 3 is Jordan and Jackie as well. I like their dynamic, their relationship, and I thought they were fun. And I hope we do get more, and I hope they both perish at the last episode.
My number 2 is Pip. You know, I love a quirky little droid, so I'm in.
Mine is also Pip.
Nice.
My number 1 is the stupidest one ever. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Chair droids. These droids were chairs.
I was like, oh, it's a chair.
I'm like, I want one of those chair droids. It took almost 50 years for someone to make chair droids, and I applaud them. Chair droids. It's genius.
And it's just amazing because it's like the gang that's in prison, and then they have their like cyborg Ugnaught pig guy, whatever you want to call it. And he's like, you can't even understand what he's saying. You get the intonation, you're like, oh, he's laughing right now and he's agreeing with them or whatever. And then he just like talks to the chair droid, and they make similar sounds, and then they're released. And I'm like, that is the beauty of Star Wars, where you can just like write beeps and boops in the script, and it's just like, that makes sense. That makes complete sense. Mine's a little bit of a cop-out. I didn't really want to choose a lightsaber battle or a showdown or whatever. I will say I should have said this earlier, but like my reaction to a lot of the Jedi fending off each other, or fighting basically May, who isn't a Jedi or using the Force to our knowledge, where it's like the choreography is a lot of just like sidestepping. It's not like it's like they're like, we can make anyone a Jedi because basically the Force solves all problems. They don't have to move fast. They just have to like sidestep and like move a hand and then they stop. Like, it made me kind of laugh, where it's like, yeah, the Force, you could just be like, I'm a 80-year-old man who with like, you know, I don't know, like like I look like I'm about to keel over, but if I have the Force, I can like be quick as like someone of you know, like the Flash, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I like that because it's like Carrie-Anne Moss is like, all she has to do is a little bit of like quick movements, but it's just like, that is sort of the magic of it. So I appreciated the choreography of those fights because it's just like. And it's also sort of like points out, like, they're strong. They don't need to break a sweat, so that when they do break a sweat, you're like, oh, this is a big deal, like that who they're fighting.
I did like the comment that a Jedi only pulls his blade when he's going to kill. I was like, oh, I like that. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I was like, I don't remember this ever, so it's just like, oh,
No,
that's a fun little addition.
And I absolutely hate lightsaber usage in the new shows because you stab somebody and they're fine. So that, at least now I'm like, when they pull it, the intention is death.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that. So
It's true.
yeah.
Right on. No.
Do you think Carrie, what's her name? Indira?
Indira.
Do you think she knows that was May? at the beginning?
That's a good question.
Because the other
There's-
guy did, right? The other guy did.
Yeah, he definitely knew. He was guilty immediately. So yeah, the four, and it's just, I think the one character that we're not quite sure of is Soul. Doesn't seem to have any guilt. Like, he's sad that May is dead, but like the other three, I mean, the other two seem to be like, oh, it's fine. The day has finally come where we have to face what we did or did not do. So it's interesting. I'm not sure. I think it's stuff like those details that I think Leslie, like, I'm just thinking now, like Leslie Hadley and I watched Russian Doll, and like Russian Doll is really easy to ingest, but there's a lot there. It's simple, but there's a lot of small intricate things in the show that you don't really you don't appreciate till you fully understand how the whole narrative goes together. So I think that's going to be a detail that's like, oh, so she understands. Yeah, I think you might have hit. I didn't even think about that. Like, she might actually know that that's May and not Osha.
Yeah, because they want you to believe one thing. But yeah, that's how it feels. All right, Brock. Episode 326 in the books. It's fun talking Star Wars again.
It's just fun to have content, and like now we have video games. Like, who knows? Maybe we'll do like a playthrough of some sort. That'll be interesting. Like,
Let's do it
free,
right now.
free game. Like, go for it.
Can't beat it. I'm gonna go watch this now.
Nice.
Dun, 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 dun. That's not the music from that at all. Love that movie. Love Star Wars. Glad Star Wars is back. Can't wait. Yeah, Tuesday nights we get to watch this. Although they say Wednesdays, but Tuesday nights, love it. The only thing for me that I will say about last night was I was in the garden, like I said, gardening, sweating. I was like, oh, it's nice out. It's nice out.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I gotta go.
You don't want to go inside. Yeah, yeah.
I didn't want to, but you know what? The Euro Cup is starting soon, very soon. And the reason why I bring that up is because nobody watching this probably cares. But 3 years ago, for the last Euro Cup, I brought my TV outside and watched TV outside for almost every game. So I have a projector now, so I could use a projector, but not for during the day, but at night, I might bring the TV outside and watch some Ahsoka outside when I can, when it's nice.
Acolyte.
Swinging. Yeah. What I say? Oh, yeah. Acolyte. They're all A's. Ahsoka, Acolyte.
Yeah, they are.
I'll watch Acolyte. Yeah, anyway, we'll watch Star Wars. I'll watch it outside maybe in the summer when it starts to get nice enough. Because that happened on our birthday, which is coming up in 2 weeks. I wanted to go see the last Jurassic Park movie on my birthday. I was like, oh, let's go watch that. And I was like, yeah. But in the theater, there's no theaters near except for one that has a show Tuesday nights and like Saturdays. And it was in 7 p.m. And it was such a nice day that year, I remember. And I was like, I don't want to go to the theater at 7. I'll go at 9, like when the sun's going down. But 7, I feel like I want to enjoy the night. So we didn't end up going. So yeah, maybe I'll bring my TV outside and watch it outside going forward. And then we'll do the podcast from outside, and I'll just be lounging with like a margarita on the deck. Like, hey, y'all.
Yeah, why not?
All right. Anything else you want to say?
No, go watch The Acolyte. Why are you listening to us? Go watch it.
Spoilers. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Drop the like and subscribe and hit the bell and all that. Again, thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. Brock, you were always scum.
Rebel Scum.
Scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.